Hi, and welcome to Something Great, a show where we discuss communities, the people who are in them, the people who lead them, and what helps good communities to thrive. I'm your host, Brittany. I'm the Director of Discovery, and I'm excited to talk to you today. Today, we are lucky enough to have 3 guests with us. They are all members of the Lambert family. We have Melissa, Clayne, and Tess, and they all have a very unique perspective on a struggle that many of us don't deal with. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to Something Great. This is Brittany, and today I'm here with the Lamberts. Can you all say hi?
Hello.
Hi.
The Lamberts are dear friends of mine, and they have a very unique perspective. So today we have Melissa, Clayne, and Tess, but we get to start out with the fun stuff. We're going to start out with Icebreaker Questions, and I'm going to ask the question, and then each of you get to answer, and we'll just start with Melissa and move straight down the line. If you received a pot-bellied pig as a pet, what would you name it?
Poppy.
Yay, Poppy.
Poppy the pig.
I'm not sure if this is appropriate for a family-friendly podcast, but oh hell no.
No, thank you.
No, that would be the name of the pig.
Oh, okay.
Because then every single time, oh hell no, what did you do now? It just works.
It just melts it together.
Just does.
Okay. And Tess?
Honestly, Paul.
Paul. Okay.
Paul. I do a lot of just random, like, suburban parent names for animals, and
Okay.
Paul.
Paul. I like it. Paul the pig. Does fruit belong on pizza? We're talking like
Yes.
pineapple. The pineapple
Yes.
debate.
I love pineapple on pizza, and I love fruit pizza.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with my answers, yes.
2 delicious things. Clayne?
I personally think it is a travesty and an abomination, but because I know my family loves it so much, I smile whenever we get a Hawaiian pizza.
Bless you, Clayne. Tess?
Yeah, I'm a pineapple on pizza person.
Okay. What flavors go best with chocolate?
Peanut butter.
Ooh, not wrong.
Peanut butter and chocolate all day, every day. Although I would also add marshmallows and peanuts. I love Rocky Road ice cream.
That was an excellent answer. Clayne?
You know, I think when it comes to milk chocolate, Melissa had it correct. It's peanut butter. But if it's dark chocolate, an orange.
Okay.
Because I'm a dark chocolate kind of guy. So dark chocolate, orange sticks. There you go.
I'd have to say same with the dark chocolate and orange, but also raspberry. I think raspberry and chocolate is really good.
Yes. You have excellent taste. All right. This is a fun one. If you could pick one fashion trend to just go away right now, what would it be?
Mullets.
Mullets, that's a good one.
Mullets and stirrup pants.
And the stirrup pants. Are stirrup
I
pants
heard
back?
that they were coming back in.
Yeah, they are.
And they were
That's
never
so
cute in the
unfortunate.
80s and 90s, and they should never be brought back.
No, definitely not. Okay, clean.
So Melissa has made me watch enough of Project Runway that I have 2 answers to that. Number 1, anything that involves lycra or spandex. That's number 1. And yada purse. You know, the kind of poopy pants, you know, the ones that have they couldn't decide if they wanted it to be a skirt or pants, so they tried to build both at the same time. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not a good look.
You know, surprisingly insightful fashion advice.
Yeah, but I really feel strongly about the lycra spandex thing.
Okay. And Tess?
I'd also say mullets, but I also do not like crop tops. But
Okay.
it's everywhere.
You heard it from the mouth of an 18-year-old girl, folks. Like, no crop tops and no mullets. This is now hard-hitting journalism now. All right, next question. If you had your choice of any skill that you don't currently possess, what would it be?
To sing. I want to sing. I want to belt it out. And right now, nobody wants me to ever belt it out.
Coding.
Really?
Computer coding.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be able to pick up languages. Like, languages are so hard, but it'd be so interesting to be able to just kind of, like, understand it as you go. I think it'd be way
That
nice.
would be a really cool gift. Yeah. Absolutely. What's the best board game?
Right now, I'm going to have to say Guess Who.
It has been a lot of fun playing that one, hasn't it?
With different rules.
Yes, with different rules. Clean?
My wife would shoot me if I said Scrabble. There's a long story to that one. I just remember playing Pandemic with a good friend of mine and just really enjoyed how involved that game was.
Okay. Tess?
Clue. I love Clue. That one's a fun one to me.
That's a fun one. All right. What is the best book you've read in the last 6 months?
I love my books. I love my audiobooks. If I were to go with non-fictional, I am going to go with Katie Couric, Going There, or Brandy Carlisle, Broken Horses. Love those two. If I'm going to have to go with fictional, I would say The Midnight Library.
All of those are good choices. Really good choices. Claim?
Last 6 months, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames.
I'd have to say Stalking Jack the Ripper. It's one I just finished. I can't remember who it's by, but I love, like, murder mysteries, and so it was, like, a really, really fun one that it's, like, the twist at the end you never would have catched throughout the rest of it.
What is your favorite song?
Can I give you my top three? That is immediate right now.
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it?
I'll allow it.
My number one right now is Wasted by Brandy Carlisle. My number two is Alicia Keys, Girl on Fire. That it can never go wrong. Mm-hmm. And number three, I'm going to have to throw in some Queen. I have become a huge Queen fan, and I don't even know. I don't even know as if I could pick one specific Queen. I love Bohemian Rhapsody. I love, what is it? Somebody to Love. Those are my go-to right now.
I'm going to ask for the same. Give me three. And so these aren't in a particular order because it really...
Too hard.
It's too hard to say. But I would say Pais y Filios by Legion Urbana. I would say anything when Sting went solo, like Fragile. And I would probably say In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Okay.
Man, that drum solo hits and it's just... yeah.
Diverse. This is a diverse couple. Tess?
I would say anything from Ben Platt. It changes every day, but it's always one of his.
I love Ben Platt too. All right, final question. Caffeine or chamomile? Are you trying to get zinged up or are you trying to calm down? Just in general in your life.
It should be chamomile, but it's always caffeine.
What about you, Clay?
Yeah, I don't do... no. I would probably say a Diet Coke.
Okay. Caffeine for you. Tess?
Chamomile.
Chamomile.
Yeah, I drink quite a bit of tea.
I hope that this has given a chance for our audience to get to know the guests a little bit. Again, this family is very near and dear to me, and they have a very unique perspective, so I think we should dive in as quickly as possible. I just want to help the audience understand kind of who you are. And you've had a lot of journeys in life. Let's start out with your story. At what age were you diagnosed with RP, and what is RP?
RP is an eye disease, and it's called Retinitis Pigmentosa. And I went to the eye doctor when I was about 13, 14 years old. And I just went to the eye doctor to get my eyes checked. I had never had my eyes examined. And so my dad took me in one night, and while I was in there, the eye doctor got looking, and he examined my eyes for a lot longer than he did my dad. At 13 years old, I had been at school that day. I was tired and I just wanted to go home. And he had seen some discoloration in the back of my retina. And he asked if my parents could bring me back when I was like in a couple of days. He couldn't get me in the next day, but he said in the next couple days. So my parents took me in, and he told them that he thought that I had retinitis pigmentosa, RP. It's a degenerative disease of my retina. Most people's rods and cones reproduce and are pigment color. Mine are charcoal gray black, and mine do not reproduce. And so when mine die, or when mine are gone, they are gone. And my vision, therefore, is gone. So after he made that diagnosis, my mom and dad wanted a second opinion. So they took me over to Logan, and I got a second opinion over there. And the eye doctor over there told me that no, he did not think that I had it. And he thought that it was going to be a bit of a stretch that if I did. So he said, in order to clarify this, let's send you to the Moran Eye Institute in Salt Lake at the University of Utah Hospital. And it was a couple of months before they could get me in. I was, like I said, I was probably going on 14 years old. They got me in. It was like in June. It was a hot day. I wasn't really feeling good. And my mom and my sister and my grandma came with me. And I ended up being in there for probably 6 hours. I had seen 8 different doctors. My eyes had been dilated 3 different times within the day. And I had them every test out there imaginable. One of them was the most awful test that I have ever been through. They took these little teeny tiny clothespins, and they took the top of my eyelid and they pinned them up above and like attached it to my eyebrow. And then they shined the brightest light. I was in a pitch dark room, and they shined the brightest light that they could into my eye. And that was the ultimate diagnosis when they could see exactly right back into my retina and saw that my rods and cones were charcoal color and that they would eventually die off. And so that was the official diagnosis. Nothing really happened until, I don't know, I was probably 18, about a senior in high school, maybe a little after, with just some of the side effects that you get from RP. Night blindness was the first thing that hit. And it wasn't all of a sudden. It was one of those things to where I just found myself not being able to see as well at night. And I mean, most people say, okay, it's dark. Yeah, people can't see at night, but like I couldn't see anything at night. And as a 18-year-old just graduated from high school, it was really hard because it was like the first symptom that I had seen with having RP. And I was afraid of where it was only going to go from there.
All right, so you were diagnosed when you were 13. You started noticing the first real effects at 18. There to hear, because now you have just a small amount of vision left, right?
So I did get a driver's license at 16, and I drove until I was 21. My eye doctor took away my license at 21. Come to find out later, he took it away very prematurely. There were several times that I had seen other eye doctors that they had tried to get it back. And once the state takes away your driver's license because of vision, unless your vision is the same as what it was when they took it away or better, then they will never renew your license. And so my vision had only gotten worse. But at that point, my vision was not so bad that I could not be driving. And so that was 21. I met and married my husband. I was 28, almost 29. And I knew that pregnancy, I had heard from some friends that pregnancy and RP did not go really well together. Pregnancy is hard on your body anyways. But with RP, it strains retinas. It strains your vision. And I had talked to some doctors, and they had told me that I would probably want to have a C-section. And so I was okay with that. And so we had my oldest daughter, Tess, and I was 30. And I lost a little bit of vision then. And then I had my son, Parker, 2 years later when I was about 32. And I lost more vision with him. I would say the majority of my vision loss probably took place between about 32 to right now. So when after I had Parker, I just started noticing that I was having a few more symptoms. I don't even know how to, I just noticed things more that I was not seeing. My depth perception is non-existent. So right now, I have about 10 degrees of vision between both of my eyes.
In a normal seeing situation, how much?
A normal healthy eye has 225 degrees of vision. And so I have about 5 degrees of vision per eye. If you were to take your hand and to make just like a oval shape and cut them around your eyes, that is what I see. I don't see up, I don't see down, I have no peripheral, and I have no depth perception. I do not see at night. And for the most part, all I see is a person's face.
That's a pretty life-changing, that changes the trajectory of a lot of things.
Absolutely.
When at 21 you don't get to drive anymore and you start your life knowing that you're going to lose your vision.
Yes. It was frightening. It was scary. And I would even go to a point to where, and it was probably more when I had my kids, it felt debilitating to me that I had freedoms that were taken away from me. And I felt like that I wasn't able to be a complete and whole person. I felt like I wasn't the mother that my kids needed. I could not take them. I could not take Tess to dance. I couldn't take Parker to soccer practice. I could not do the simple things that every woman who is a wife, and I shouldn't say every, but the majority of women that are mothers are able to do.
And definitely what you saw as being your role as a mom.
Yes.
You couldn't.
I couldn't take my kids to the park in the afternoon and play.
She couldn't go to the store to pick up something. That she was completely dependent on asking. If she needed to go someplace, she had to ask somebody. And when you are in a situation where you have to completely rely on the mercy of others, that robs you of so much. That was a real struggle when we first got married.
Tess, what's it, and I don't know if it's different for you, where it's not like you would choose a different mom ever, because
Not at all.
Melissa is wonderful. Do you think that your life is different than it would have been if your mom maybe saw perfectly?
I do, but I don't think it really clicked to me that this was anything that no one else dealt with until I was 10. I just did I thought that leading your mom with your arm was a normal thing that everyone did. And I do think some of that is you see parents holding their kid's hand, and I thought it was just a variation of that was a normal thing. And so there were all of these things that I did during childhood that I just thought was normal for everyone else. And so there are things that are different, but I didn't see it that way, and I never really have.
Well, and I think, knowing Melissa, that those things that she can't do, she more than makes up for with the huge amount of things that she does do. And she does have to rely on community more than other people do. But because of that, she has chosen to be the kind of person who gives back all the time. More, I think, than than sometimes what she's getting back in return. But I want to, and we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about your journey and specifically what your community has looked like and what's gotten you to the place that you are. So,
Okay.
Spring is just around the corner, and if you're ready to get out of the house and have an amazing experience, make your way to Idaho Falls Zoo. The zoo reopens April 13, and all your favorite animals will be on display. We can't wait to see you there. Okay, so we left just before our break talking about a really life-altering, do you call it disease?
Yes.
Is it a condition? Okay.
It's a disease.
A life-altering disease that you didn't get any choice in
No.
the way that it affects your life. And that happens sometimes, people, that things enter our life that we don't have any choice about, and the only thing we really get to choose is whether or not we accept it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know that you had quite the trip getting to where you are now as a person. So talk to me about accepting your diagnosis and traveling down this road that has made you an even more amazing woman than you were before.
For the longest time, with my condition, it's not something that people can see. And I knew that I needed help probably from about 36, 37 on, but I was afraid. I did not want people to know that I had a problem, and I did not ever want to share it with others. And I was having a real problem getting around. As Tess said, that she would get a hold of my hand, and in the stores she would kind of guide me along. And whenever I was with Clayton or Parker, then they would get a hold of my hand and they would just kind of help me along. I faked. I was a very, very good faker for a very long time, and it did not serve me well. I had contacted the Commission for the Blind, and I had been in contact with them a few times before. My mom had asked and had told me that I had probably needed to contact them and just see what assistance I could get. And so I had contacted them, and they had come by and they had brought a cane. And that was the last thing that I even wanted, because I felt like a functioning adult. I wasn't. I was far from a functioning adult. But the minute people would see me with a cane, I was automatically judged as handicapped. And they would not, it was like the first thing that they would see is the cane, and then I was lost to
They
it.
were going to know
Yes.
that you were different.
And I did not want to have that stigma on me. And I didn't want my kids to be embarrassed. My kids were in elementary school, and I did not want to show up at the school with a cane and to have all the kids looking at me and to have their friends or their schoolmates, teachers, whoever, going and talking to my kids about me and wondering what was going on. I had a lot of pride with that. The lady from the Commission for the Blind, she was very good, and she came straight out and she told me one day that I had one of two choices, that I could either use the cane and have it be my assistance and help me to keep from falling. I was falling a lot. I have broken almost every toe several times. My poor little baby toes will never be the same size ever again. They're still just huge. And I have twisted my ankles. I've broken my ankle. And it's just because I don't see anything ever down below my nose. And I needed help. And so she was just like, you can either use this cane and have it be of help to you, or you can walk around stumbling and falling and looking like that you have got a real problem. Whether you're a drunk, whether you have got any other thing going on. But people won't, they're not going to assume the best.
They're going to judge you.
Yes, they're going to judge you no matter what. And how do you want them to judge you? that was kind of eye-opening. And then I got talking with a friend one night, and he was telling me that he had a friend that had gone to Boise and went to the blind school. And he got this friend on the phone for me. I got talking to him for about 10 minutes, and he was just telling me he had the same eye condition that I have with RP. There is no, and I had wanted to clarify this, there is no cure for RP.
So you can't get an eye transplant?
No, there's nothing for it because of it being in the back of the retina. That it's just sensitive tissue. It's connected to the brain. There's so many different issues with it that there's nothing, no cure for it. So after I talked with this man on the phone, and he was just like, this is what I really think that the blind school completely changed my life. Wow. That I came home, and it was in the fall, and I told Clayne, I am going to go to the blind school in Boise. And he looked at me and he was just like, okay, you have been out talking outside and now you have come home and told me that you're going to the blind school? At the time, my kids, Parker was in the 3rd grade and Tess was in the 5th grade, and Clayne was working full-time at ISU, and he was in the middle of his PhD. And honestly, the timing could not have been any worse. At the same time, I knew that I 100% did not have a choice, and that the blind school had to be my next step.
Blind school was next. Okay, so you met someone else with RP. RP is pretty rare?
It is, yes, it is very rare.
So how much interaction had you had with the visually impaired / blind community?
None. No.
So you made this choice, and it was a terrible time for your family, but you had to go.
Oh,
yeah. You have to learn
Absolutely.
to deal with this condition. So, Clayne.
So a couple of things about the blind school. We live in Pocatello, and the blind school is located in Boise, which is 3.5 hours away. And when they first told us about the blind school, they said it is a residential experience, meaning if you come and stay here. And so what that meant was if she left, she was going to be leaving until she was done. So that was a major part of the calculus in this, was the reality that while she was there, it wasn't going to be, I go there during the day and come home at night. It was going to be, I'm gone until this is done.
Talk to me about being the husband and holding down the fort and taking care of the kids and your doctorate and work while Melissa learned everything that she needed to know.
So, when we talk about Melissa going to the blind school, I think that you need to understand something about Melissa and I's history, because I think it really contextualizes all of this. When I first started dating Melissa, I had no idea that she had an eye condition. And on our 3rd date, she decided that I was getting too serious. And so she decided to, when I took her home after taking her out to dinner, she marched off, grabbed all of her paperwork and files about her medical history, and literally threw the folder in my lap or face. It kind of blurs. And just kind of, because she had expected me to be like every other guy she had dated, who as soon as they found out she had this eye disease, man, they were gone. You have to understand, when I saw Melissa, I very quickly realized that she was so far out of my league that I was batting way above my weight, and I could really care less. I really didn't care. And I've always felt that way. And so when, after the initial shock of her telling me that she was going to the blind school, it was, okay, this is just like any other part of our life. You need to go to the store. I'm going to make arrangements at work so that I can do that. You need to do this. Okay, well, that's the package deal. That's what I signed up for, and I understood that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was it a great time? No, but there wasn't ever going to be a great time for it to happen. But I knew that for her to have the courage to be able to face what was something that was so scary, that there was no way for me to be able to look myself in the mirror and bring up any kind of concern. because of the courage that she was showing, I had to at least match that, which meant I had to be able to say to her, I can handle this. I can handle work. I can handle the kids. I can do whatever I need to do so that you can go without looking over your shoulder the entire time you were there. And so that's how we got through it, at least from my perspective.
Wonderful. You're great. You're a good couple. No one in the audience can see this, but they keep looking at each other, and it's absolutely adorable. Just the cutest stinking thing. Tess, your mom was gone for 7 weeks. Tell me just real quick what that was like for you.
It was hard. I've always had a really, really good relationship with her, and so having her gone for that long was honestly one of the hardest things, because before that, I think the longest she had been gone was like maybe 3 days, and it was to her parents, if that, kind of a thing. So to have her gone for like 7 or 8 weeks, something like that, it was hard, because I think we only saw her in that entire time once or twice.
Yeah.
Between dropping her off and picking her up.
So, yeah, that's really difficult. And I know that your support was really key to her. You and your dad and Parker's support was really important to her while she was gone. So setting the stage, you arrived at the blind school. This is your first time being around multiple members of this community that you've been a part of. And you're going to be away from your family for 7 weeks. And you're at the blind school. Talk to me about your introduction to this community and what that was like.
It was unlike anything that I don't even think that I could have imagined or tried to dream up how it was going to be. I felt like I was meeting people that were on my level and understood me, and then yet not. And when I say that, I am one that I like to view myself as extremely independent, and I am I'm quite vain. I love to have cute hair and makeup, and I love my clothes, and I love things a certain way. And that has always been a very important part of who I am, which I know sounds ridiculous.
No.
I'm going blind. I am not going to be able to see how I look one day, but yet that has always been so important to me. So going there, I had 5 classes that I had to go to every day, and I had to wear a shield over my eyes. It was like a face mask, and I had to wear that through all 5 classes.
Like similar to like a blackout, like a sleep mask?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I got up and got ready in the mornings, and then we would go, and I had a mobility class to where I learned actually threw in with a cane. We first learned how to walk around the floor, and then we did stairs. And then where the blind school is in Boise, it's about a block off from the state capitol. So it's a very, very busy
Yes, it is.
area.
Smack downtown.
Yes. And they had me walking right in the middle of all of that downtown. All that traffic, all of that right in cars right to the side of me. I'm crossing streets. With blinders on. My instructor at first was by my side. The longer I was there, the further we would go, and then the further behind me she would be. She was always behind me, making sure that I was going to be safe, but I had to learn how to get around, and she would give me an address, and she would show me a map, and then before we left, I had to map it out and figure out I've got to go down this many blocks to the right, and then I've got to turn, and I've got to go 1 block to the left, and then up, and then down an alley, and then across the street, and then I'm at the little coffee house. And that was like one of my big main destinations where I had to go. And it was quite a scary event. I got lost in a parking lot and ended up in the back of the parking lot behind a dumpster. I hit my head on branches of a tree. My cane got caught up in a bike rack. There were several things that day, and after I left, or when I got home that day, I went back to my room and I just started crying. And I remembered that I had called Clayne, and I was just like, I don't think I can do this. I can't live blind. This is just, it's too hard for me to do this. And he was just like, I'm sorry, you can do it, being that cheerleader for me. But ultimately, he's like, it's you have to choose. This is your choice. And ultimately, it's all of our choices with how we're going to do this. Just really quick with the other classes that we had. I had a Braille class. I will never learn Braille. It was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. I think that I am blind to Braille with my fingers. My fingers would not read it. It was ridiculous. It was so hard. I had a computers class, which has actually helped me out a lot. I had a woodworking class, which seems absolutely crazy. I used a great big saw, and I used a drill, and I made a pegboard, completely blinded, and I still look at the pegboard to this day, and it makes me emotional. That pegboard is so sweet and dear to me because it's far from perfect. But I know what I went through, and it is part of the effort of what I gave to be able to be there and to do that. And then I had a home and I think it was called like a home living class, to where I learned how to do things around my house: cook, clean, organize my closets with clothes that I could figure out with what I'm wearing. Very, very important information I was taught there.
And a choice in how you look at it, because it would be easy to take those classes and think, these are all the things that I can't do.
Yes.
In any given day. I'm just going to have entire 7 weeks of entire days of classes pointing out what I can do. But what I think is key about you is instead, you looked at those classes and thought, this is how I'm going to learn to do the things that would be hard for me. And I'm going to learn to do this.
Yes.
How did you flip your mindset?
I think that I have always, it goes back to me not wanting people to view me as handicapped. And I am not one, I don't feel like I have really ever set limits upon myself and said, I can't do that because of this. Now, I might try and say things like that to my husband, and I might say, oh, but honey, I really can't do that. Remember, I'm blind. And that only works some of the time. But for the most part, we limit ourselves. We truly limit ourselves. And I saw that there. And there were people that did limit themselves that were there with other students that I was there with. And then there were some to where it was just like they were going to go and they were going to learn and they were going to have this be a really invested experience. I actually, if I could share one experience that I had, I was there that was very positive. It was my last week of being there, that the director of the school came to me and asked me if I would be willing to share my experience with some of the state commissioners, that they were up for a big grant, the Commission for the Blind and the Blind School was, and he came and he asked me if I would speak and share about the experiences that I had there. And I spoke to some of the legislature in the state that was there, and I think that there were like 4 or 5 people there, and I was able to share what it was like and the things that I had learned. And it was something that I was extremely nervous about.
Absolutely, of course.
To be there in front of these people for the state and really I felt like them receiving the funding, so much of it was, I'm like, this is based on what I say. So I have to make them sound good. I have got to step this up because I was asked to do this, and it was such a positive experience, and I am so thankful. It helped give me the confidence I think that I needed, and it helped me to really be able to reflect and to see what I had learned, and that I was going to be okay moving forward, and that I could go on to live a full functioning life. And that, I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned while I was there, is that we 100% as humans, we limit ourselves. If there's any sort of limitations, we create them with our mindset.
I think that's inspiring. You're so optimistic. And so before we close, because we're gonna go, we have one more commercial break in the show, but I want you to tell me what it is that you turn to help you stay so positive, and if there are specific mentors, whether you've ever met them or not, or specific things that you do to keep your spirits high and bring sunshine into your own life. Who do you turn to for those things?
One of the things that I have found so much joy in is my audiobooks. One of the things that I was able to receive is a reader from the Commission for the Blind, and I have an account with the Commission for the Blind, or through like the Library of Congress, is who this is through, and I can go and type in and I can download just about any book I want. And I have found that I went through a phase. I liked to read when I was younger, and then as I got older, I found that the more I read, the more headaches I would get, and the light, and that really affected my eyes, and it would give me headaches. And I felt a loss in my life, and I really felt that because I loved getting caught up in a book. Being able to download an audiobook and to be able to listen to that, I have a book going continually. As I am doing laundry, as I am cleaning, as I am cooking dinner, I continually have a book going. I would say right now I have really, really gone back. I love strong, powerful women. They are empowering to me. I have absolutely loved Brene Brown. She, to me, just speaks to my soul. And one of the things that she has said that I have absolutely loved, I have read several of her books, and she talks about owning your own story is the bravest thing that you'll ever do. And that, to me, is very empowering. That when we can own, and when we become the narrator of our own story, and not let someone else, or not let a disease or anything else come in and rule over how you think, how you're going to feel, that you are empowered with that. So I love that. I have found just so many awesome women. Glennon Doyle's Untamed was absolutely fantastic. Brandy Carlisle's Broken Horses.
Who doesn't love Brandy Carlisle?
Brandy Carlisle, I mean, I know. She let's be honest, she got me through COVID. Her music, I have found that I really, really got going with her at the beginning of COVID, and it was the High Women. And the minute I heard that song, I could not, it's this empowerment song with these women that have done hard things and have paved the way. And I want to be one of those strong women. I want to be able to be one that is not afraid of what I have ahead of me. Are things easy? No. But do I get to determine how I'm going to view them? Absolutely. I don't know. There have been many. I've got a fabulous group of community. I have got fantastic. My husband is As you've heard, Clayton is fantastic. He has supported me through absolutely everything. My kids are absolutely wonderful. And honestly and truly, you, my dear, I just have to make the plug with Brittany that she got me through Boise. Her sweet husband, and we'll say sweet loosely. We love Jared. Brittany and Jared had me into their home every night while I was in Boise. And if it were not for them and their family, and for them taking me in to family dinners, and for me being able to be there with their kids, there's a spot in my heart that you will always, always be in, and you will never know the impact and how you have influenced me for the good. I'm so thankful for my people. I am so thankful for my parents. I'm thankful for my family. I have got an incredible book club, and they made a trip to Boise, and we had a weekend there. We've been together for 12 years, and we have seen each other through so much. And it is who you surround yourself with that make you a better person. And I 100% am so blessed. I love when I left Boise, you gave me a plaque that I have on my wall. And it says, "Because I knew you, I have been changed for good." And you know, the older I get, the more I realize that it is the people in our lives that matter the very, very most, more than anything else. And that when we can be a community, and when we can be there to help and assist one another, that's what it's about. And that's when the learning grows. That's when we are able to see each other for who we are and not feel judged, whether I have a cane, whether someone else has a different disability, whether someone else is single or divorced or whatever. It doesn't matter, because at the heart of it, we are all human and we want to feel connected.
Anybody who gets to have you as a part of their community is very lucky, and I'm sure everyone listening already knows that, because you are an amazing woman. And when we come back, we're going to go take a break, and I'm going to drink a lot of water and try not to cry. I want you to share with us some of the thoughts that you have for community around you.
Okay.
Have you heard our first podcast? If you haven't, make sure that you give it a listen. We talked to author Mario McCracken about his amazing new book, Really Care for Them. You definitely want to add this to your bookshelf, and we have great news for you. It's currently available on pretty much every trusted book website. So go check out Really Care for Them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Powell's.
For our final segment with the Lambert family. And something I'm hoping to talk to you about is, because I think blindness is pretty rare worldwide, a lot of us don't have experience with working with visually impaired people or blind people. Talk to me about what your experiences are with community at large, and anything that you'd like that community to know.
Yeah, it has been very, very interesting. I did a little bit of research yesterday, and because I wanted to make sure that I had my numbers right. And there are 18% of people throughout the world who use a cane that are completely blind. So there are 82% of people that use a cane that are partially sighted. So when you see someone with a cane, just know that yes, they might be able to see, but that they do not see a whole lot. And when you see somebody go into a movie theater and wanting to see a movie, that it is okay that that person might be sitting on the last row like I am, which I'm sure that some of you are like, why would you sit on the last row and not the front row? It's because when I'm on the front row, I am panning back and forth and all I can see is one tiny strip. But when I'm on the very back row, I'm still panning from side to side. But for the most part, I can still see, and I love movies. And I want to be able to go into a movie theater. I get many looks with people watching me go into a movie theater with my cane. I have had some very positive experiences with people. And I have had some very negative experiences at the same time with people. I have had a guy come up to me one day and looked me right in the eye and said, I know you can see and you have no business using that cane. Basically called me a fraud. So I told him that I did need my cane and that I would very much so struggle without it because I do not see anything below my nose whatsoever. My very favorite, I would have to say, are children. Children are so sweet and they're so inquisitive and they want to know. They have that, the questions and no inhibition. And you know what? I so appreciate when a little kid will come up to me and ask me, what is that? Why, mom? Why? And then they'll look at their mom and say, why does she have one of those? And a lot of times the parents will just kind of be like embarrassed and will kind of shy them away. But I would much rather have people come up and ask me. I had an experience about a couple of months ago in a store that I was in, and I had a woman who worked there come up to me as I was checking out, and she said, I have watched you go around this store for about 20 minutes, and you can see and you can make your way around in the store. You seem very capable. Can I ask, why are you using this cane? And so as I told her, this is why I'm using the cane and that this is what I see, she said to me that she was very thankful that I was able to take the time to talk to her about it and not be mad about her asking me about it. I would much rather have people come and want to know more about it and to ask me rather than to come up to me and say something snarky and walk away or give me the look like, oh my gosh, you're such a fake. Because it's a real deal. And trust me, for as long and as hard as I fought getting that cane, honestly, I cannot leave my home without it. And I think that I have found that over the last couple years that the cane isn't there as a judgment, but that it is an extra appendage to help me find where the stairs are, to help me to be able to find the sidewalk, curb, and to be able to help me knock everything down in a grocery store, which I still do. I have knocked over so many displays. It's not even funny. It's part of life, and you have to have a sense of humor.
And I think there's something to be said for what you said, remaining curious. It's okay to ask a question as long as there's not judgment attached to that question. I think there's something to be said for childlike innocence and assuming the best in humanity.
Absolutely.
Clayne, do you have a message for community regarding your wife? And
I've had the opportunity to watch Melissa for a long time, both before and after the blind school. And one of the hardest struggles for me as somebody who cares so deeply about Melissa was that when she came home from the blind school, she was so energized and so excited that she had kind of freed herself from this fear that had just, it was a cancer in her life that had just metastasized into so many aspects. And all of a sudden, that pressure was gone, and she was going to conquer the world. And she was going to go and do things. And she decided she wanted to get a job. There were some good and there were some bad experiences with that. And it was really hard for me to watch some of those negative experiences. And a lot of those negative experiences distilled into one simple reality. People had this tendency to equate blindness with mental deficiency. They treated Melissa that because she could not see as well, she was not able to do other things. That it must mean that she was incapable of doing, very basic things, that spending 2 minutes talking to her would make it very clear that that was not the case.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they would find the most polite ways to just absolutely, and I don't think it was intentional, but just destroy her in the way that they, in very well-meaning ways, told her that she just had no business being in society because, well, you're blind. There's no way you could do this. There's no way you could do that. And I won't go into specifics, but it really crushed some of that light. But some of that hardness made her eventual successes that much sweeter when people saw beyond that. And because seriously, if you spend any time with Melissa, this person is just a force of nature.
Yes.
And
In the most
positive sense of the word. And when you just give her the chance, she is able to just blow you away. And that has been my lived reality for the last 20 years. And I can't wait for the next 20 because it's just the way she is. But the truth of the matter is that I see in Melissa a representation of so many other people that face physical, emotional, and mental challenges that so many times we intentionally or unintentionally, and I would hope that it was unintentional, sweeping generalizations of a person's capacity or nature that really rob us of the opportunity. It doesn't rob Melissa of who she is. It might rock her a bit and she might have to struggle through that, but it doesn't change who she is. But I know that those people missed out on the opportunity. Not just with Melissa and visual impairments, but to start looking at other people similarly and realizing how much do we miss out when we fail to see people for who they are because of whatever trait. It's the piercings or the tattoos or the crazy hair or, there's so many different things that we allow ourselves to be stopped by that if we could just get past that one thing, we would discover this incredible personality behind it that we miss out on.
Tess.
For me, I definitely saw, kind of similar to him, that there was a difference in her between before and after going to the blind school, and it was mainly just confidence. Beforehand, like she said, she always just kind of wanted to hide the blindness, but afterwards it was like she almost wore it as like a badge of pride. That wasn't going to define her, but it was a part of her. She uses it as like a way of inspiring others, and I definitely see that in my own life. Like, she's definitely in that high role model for me that she's what I aspire to be. And I feel like she's that way for so many people in so many different ways, taking the punches and rolling with them, and that she can do anything and that it's not going to hold her back.
You are right. Such fantastic words from this family today. Incredible family. And there will be some more notes about them in the show notes as we close. Melissa, we love to close with something great. Can you share something great with us?
I think that my something great would be the courage that I have been able to learn. And the courage that I have been able to gain in myself, what a little bit of believing in myself has been able to do to help me not to be afraid. Once again, I'm going to go back to Brene really quick, talking about vulnerability, how it, when you're vulnerable, you're not comfortable, but you gain courage through that. And I have seen that. I have been able, through this journey of my life, with 13-year-old Melissa sitting at the doctor's office, not knowing what a future was going to hold. And then 21-year-old Melissa having her driver's license taken away, feeling like her future was completely ripped out from underneath her. And then 30-year-old Melissa holding a brand new baby and looking into her sweet eyes and wondering if I was ever going to get to see her grow up. And now being able to look at this beautiful 18-year-old girl who was graduating from high school. How did that happen? To be able to see her be this strong woman who I admire more than anyone. She's brave, she's strong, she's kind, she's fierce, and I admire her so much. When I get looking back on all these different eras of my life, even at 40-year-old Melissa, who was so scared to go to the blind school, that I was able to take that minute and I was able to figure out that I could do it and to have the courage and to know that I had a community behind me. And that it was not only a possibility, but it was my way through. My way through. There is a quote that I absolutely love that I just will end with this, and it's one of my very favorites. It's by Mae West. Of course it's by Mae West. Why not let it be from her? She says, "You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough." And that's how I want to live my life, is that I am just going to push forward. Once is going to be enough because I don't live with regrets.
So wonderful. Thank you for being so many other people something great in their day every day. And thank you for coming on the show today, Lambert family. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you feel inspired to do something great. And thanks to Lingo for sponsoring this podcast.
Lingo is the most effective way to connect with customers in the moment they need you, deepen engagement that leads to dramatic results, and build communities so that your business continues to grow. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or at liiingo.com. See you there.